So now let's do lesson 15A. In the next preview assignment and in the next class, you will learn the design characteristics of experimental studies, explanatory and response variables, and treatments. Some characteristics of statistical studies. Joachim Schuss and others published a paper that concluded there was no evidence of brain tumor risk for cell phone users. To come to this conclusion, the researchers followed people who had used cell phones for years. They compared the rate of brain tumor occurrence in this group with the rate of brain tumor occurrence in the general population. No statistical differences or difference was found. Is this observational or experimental? And explain. This is a great time to hit pause. Go ahead and put down an answer for question 1. Keep reading the next paragraph and look at questions 2 and 3, and then come back and we'll talk through these together. Question 1 is an observational study because nothing was manipulated. The researchers simply watched to see what the result was going to be. So Joseph Roti and others also studied cell phone exposure and brain tumors. These researchers wanted to see if cell phones cause brain tumors by exposing rats to high levels of cell phone signals. The rats were randomly divided into 3 groups. For 505 days, one group was exposed to analog cell phone frequency. Another group was exposed to a digital cell phone frequency, and a third group received no exposure at all. Then the brain, the spinal cord, and other organs from rats were studied under a microscope to look for tumors. Between the 3 groups, no statistically significant differences were found. Is this an observational or experimental study? And explain. Well, this one is an experimental study because something was manipulated. There were 3 groups, and each group had a different treatment. In the Roti et al. Study described previously, here are some questions. So what is the explanatory variable and what is the response variable? They also want us to describe the different treatments and then to define which group was the control group. So the explanatory variable is going to be, and write down however you'd like to write it in your words, but it's the amount and it's a type of cell phone frequency exposure, which was replicating the amount of cell phone usage. What was the response variable? The response variable will be whether or not tumors were detected. To describe the different treatments assigned to each group of rats, we had 3. One group received analog cell phone frequency. Another group was exposed to digital cell phone frequency. And one group was not exposed to any cell phone frequency. Which group was the control group? Right here. The group not exposed to any cell phone frequency. And finally on this question, how did the researchers divide the rats into these 3 groups? A huge word. They divided them randomly. They were randomly assigned. Another part that you're going to need to understand or be comfortable with when you get to your Math 1332 class is to be able to identify variables as either quantitative or categorical. A reminder, quantitative is like a number, and categorical is like a box or a bin. So the number of candies in a bag, and by the way, it's a good time to hit pause, answer all of these by yourself, and then come back and work through it with me. But the number of candies in a bag is going to be quantitative. The location of a caller based on a 3-digit area code of their telephone number, that's going to be a bucket. If you're in the 713 area code or the 832 area code, since it's going to be a bucket, it's categorical. The gender of participants, categorical. There are categories. The political parties of the participants, assuming it's pure, not mixed, then it's going to be categorical. The number of gallons of water, the number of gallons of water remaining in a tank, quantitative, and then the location of a library based on a zip code. Like our school is in 77339, so that's going to be categorical. This completes our lesson or our worksheet 15A. Go look at your syllabus to see if you have more to do this week. If you do, keep on listening. If you don't, celebrate, and I'll talk to you more next week.